30-year-old Sabrina Kauldhar has been arrested for committing 3 murders in 3 consecutive days across Ontario, Canada. The first victim, Trinh Thi Vu, a woman in her 60s who was Kauldhar's roommate, was found murdered in their Toronto home on October 1st. The following day, 47-year-old Lance Cunningham was discovered dead in Niagara Falls, and on October 3rd, 77-year-old Mario Bilic, a retired schoolteacher, was fatally stabbed in a Hamilton parking lot. The investigation unfolded quickly as hundreds of officers worked across Ontario to solve the murders. Luckily, authorities recovered surveillance footage from Hamilton, showing Kauldhar following Bilic moments before his death. Kauldhar was tracked down and arrested at a Burlington hotel on October 3rd. Kauldhar, a straight-A student raised by 2 loving parents in Innisfil, Ontario, had a promising upbringing but reportedly struggled with drugs and mental health issues in recent years. Former friends described her as a high-achieving student and athlete in her youth, but recalled her downward spiral in college. Police are still investigating and have appealed to the public for any additional information on Kauldhar's crimes and background to help shed further light on this chilling murder spree. On October 1st, Toronto police received a call about an unresponsive woman with visible injuries in her home. When police arrived at the scene at around 2 p.m., they discovered the body of a deceased woman who was roughly 60 years old. The next day, Niagara Falls police responded to an afternoon call about a disturbance in a parking lot near John Allen Park. At the scene, the police discovered the body of 47-year-old Lance Cunningham. A day later, Hamilton police received a call about an unresponsive man in a parking lot at 209 McNabb Street. There, police found 77-year-old Mario Bilic, a retired Catholic schoolteacher, with significant injuries consistent with a stabbing, according to reports. Tragically, Bilic passed away from his wounds at the hospital. Niagara Police Chief Bill Forty stated that the attacks seemed random. There were no connections between the 3 victims, and the last 2 victims were both going about their business when they were attacked. However, police believe the accused knew the first victim killed in Toronto, who has been identified as Kauldhar's roommate. Despite all of the crimes occurring in separate cities, investigators were quick to link them all together. Investigators were able to link the Hamilton homicide to the recent murder in John Allen Park in Niagara Falls, determining the suspect matched the description in both cases, a press release explained. An additional link was made to the active homicide investigation from October 1st in Toronto. With over 100 investigators working on the case across Ontario, it wasn't long before they discovered evidence pointing to Sabrina Kauldhar. Authorities recovered surveillance footage recording Mario Bilic's last moments. The footage showed Bilic exiting the social event he was attending and walking toward the parking lot. Following him was Sabrina Kauldhar. Later footage showed her running from the scene only minutes before the 911 call was made. With this information, police tracked down the 30-year-old and arrested her at a Burlington hotel on October 3rd at 5:45 p.m. Meanwhile, security footage at a Giant Tiger grocery store in Burlington showed an unnamed woman purchasing clothes that Kauldhar was later seen wearing. Police have not clarified whether this woman is an accomplice or a victim, but she has been found alive. As for Sabrina Kauldhar, the police made a public appeal asking for any information about her. According to friends and social media, Kauldhar was raised by 2 dentists in Innisfil, Ontario. A high school friend recently spoke to police, telling authorities that Kauldhar had a privileged upbringing but fell down a dark path. "I knew her in high school well. Parents were both dentists," the friend told the Toronto Sun. "She was a straight-A student and very active in sports, played high-level hockey, and did figure skating when she was young. In college, Kauldhar got caught up in the wrong crowd and began developing issues with drugs and mental health problems, all of which worsened after her mother's death in 2020. I haven't been in contact with her really at all since about 2015, and even then it was her trying to ask for money, and I just said no and hadn't heard anything since," the friend stated. Police are still asking for any information from the public about Sabrina Kauldhar and her disturbing crimes. High school junior Cassie Jo Stoddard had the world ahead of her in 2006, when her life was suddenly cut short by 2 of her classmates, Tori Adamczyk and Brian Draper, who wanted to become world-famous killers. On the night of September 22, 2006, in Pocatello, Idaho, Two aspiring serial killers viciously stabbed their 16-year-old classmate to death. Their motive for the killing was to imitate the cult horror movie Scream and to go down in history for their heinous crimes. Though Brian Draper and Tori Adamczyk only committed one murder from their death list, the Scream killers succeeded in their macabre goal. Cassie Jo Stoddart was brutally murdered by Draper and Adamczyk, who then proceeded to record themselves celebrating what they had done.
Just killed Cassie. We just left her house. This is not a fucking joke.
I'm shaking.
I stabbed her in the throat and I saw her lifeless body just disappear. Dude, I just killed Cassie. Oh, fuck. That felt like it wasn't real. I mean, it went by so fast.
Shut the fuck up. We gotta get our act straight.
It's okay. Okay, let's buy movie tickets now.
Okay.
Come on.
No.
Goodbye.
Draper and Adamczyk had also filmed themselves plotting the murder, and they even captured footage of Stoddart at school just hours before they killed her. The video evidence helped authorities prove the teenager's guilt and put them in prison for life. Brian Draper and Tori Adamczyk met at Pocatello High School, and they became fast friends over their shared interest in film, according to reports. They enjoyed watching horror movies together, and Scream was one of their favorites.
Mine too.
Our locker. Got my Halloween
Pretty
stuff.
fucking sweet, isn't it?
My trench coat.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's decently sweet. Got my smokes here.
Well, I'm gonna like...
Look at those little legs.
What a fat egg. Let's go.
In September 2006, at the beginning of their junior year, they decided to make their own film. It would document their attempt to emulate the masked killer in Scream by picking off their classmates one by one. The boys created a death list of potential targets, and Cassie Jo Stoddart was at the top of it. On September 21st, Draper and Adamczyk filmed themselves plotting Stoddart's murder.
We're here in his car. The time is 9:50, September 22nd, 2006. Unfortunately, we have the grueling task of killing our two friends, and they are right in that house just down the street.
We just talked to them. We were there for an hour. But
We checked out the whole house. We know there's lots of doors. There's lots of places to hide. I unlocked the back doors, so it's all locked. Now we just gotta wait, and yeah, we're really nervous right now, but you know, we're ready.
we're listening to the greatest rock band
We've
ever,
waited for this for a long time.
Pink Floyd, before we commit the ultimate crime of murder.
We waited for this for a long time.
A long time.
We'll stay tuned. Just killed Cassie. We just left her house. This is not a fucking joke.
I'm shaking.
I stabbed her in the throat and I saw her lifeless body just disappear. Dude, I just killed Cassie. Oh, fuck. That felt like it wasn't real. I mean, it went by so fast.
Shut the fuck up. We gotta get our act straight.
It's okay. Okay, let's buy movie tickets now.
Okay.
Come on.
No.
Goodbye.
Draper began the recording by saying, "We found our victim, and sad as it may be, she's our friend. But you know what? We all have to make sacrifices. Our first victim is going to be Cassie Stoddart and her friends." They knew Stoddart was going to be house-sitting at her aunt and uncle's house the following night, and they planned to kill any of her friends who were around as well. When Draper suggested picking them off one by one, Tori Adamczyk responded, "Why one by one? Why can't it be a slaughterhouse?" Brian Draper replied by saying, "We're going to go down in history. We're going to be just like Scream." And the very next night, they carried out their scheme.
We're going for a high death count.
We're not going not to get caught, Brian. If we're going for guns, we're just gonna end it. We're just gonna grab the guns and get out of there, kill everybody and leave.
We're going to make history. We're gonna make history.
For all you FBI agents watching this, you weren't quick enough.
We were quick enough and you weren't smart enough. And we're going over today, Nixon's house. We're gonna go snoop around over there and try to see if she's home alone or not. And if she's home alone, splat! She did.
Don't put your humor into this, Brian.
I'm not putting you over into it. Yep. People will die. And then memories will fade.
Memories will fade. I wonder what movie you got that from, Brian.
Myself. That was for myself.
No wonder it was so lame.
Okay, we're on our way, and I'll let you stay tuned. We're almost there.
On the night of her murder, Cassie Jo Stoddard invited her boyfriend, Matt Beckham, to spend the evening at her aunt and uncle's house with her. She also invited over Brian Draper and Tori Adamczyk, and the four decided to watch a movie. The boys soon left, telling Stoddard and Beckham that they were going to go to the local movie theater instead. But before they did, one of them sneaked downstairs and unlocked the basement door. Rather than go to the movies, Draper and Adamczyk changed into dark clothes and white masks and grabbed the knives they purchased from a pawn shop several weeks earlier. They then crept back into the house through the basement door and tried to lure Stoddard and Beckham downstairs by making loud noises. Their initial plan failed, as instead of heading to the basement to investigate, Beckham called his mom to ask if he could spend the night with Stoddard. She said no, but she told him that Stoddard could come to their house. Stoddard declined, as she didn't want to let her aunt and uncle down, and Beckham's mother picked him up at 10:30 p.m. Shortly after, Draper and Adamczyk went upstairs and stabbed Cassie Jo Stoddard approximately 30 times. 12 of the wounds proved to be fatal, striking the right ventricle of her heart, and she quickly bled out. The boys then fled the scene. They returned to their car around 11:30 p.m. and filmed their reactions to what they had just done. Brian Draper told the camera, "I stabbed her in the throat and I saw her lifeless body. It just disappeared. Dude, I just killed Cassie." Brian Draper and Tori Adamczyk were interviewed by police several days later after Beckham informed authorities that they had been some of the last people to see Stoddard alive. Draper stuck to the story that he and Adamczyk had gone to the movie theater, but he couldn't describe the plot of the film they'd reportedly seen. Neither could Adamczyk. Brian Draper broke first. He told police that it was all supposed to be a joke, and that he was surprised when Adamczyk actually started stabbing Stoddard. Draper led authorities to Black Rock Canyon, where the teens had disposed of their clothes, masks, weapons, and camera. They had attempted to burn the videotapes of their grisly confession, but investigators were able to recover the footage and use it to charge the boys with murder. Although they were both under the age of 18 at the time, Brian Draper and Tori Adamczyk were tried as adults. The incriminating video was shown to the jury during Draper's trial. His defense claimed that the tape was only recorded for a horror movie that the teenagers were planning to make. The boys were both found guilty of homicide and conspiracy to commit murder and received the same sentence: life in prison. The Scream killers were caught before they were able to carry out any more murders from their extensive death list. Sadly, justice came too late to save Cassie Jo Stoddard.
I'm getting you on tape, okay? Say hi, please.
Hi.
Okay, see ya. Dixon's house. It's clear out there in the pasture. We've already snooped around her house a couple times. She's not home, so we're gonna go to the church over there, and we're gonna call a girl and a guy named Cassie and Matt. They're our friends, but we have to make sacrifices. So I feel tonight it is the night, and I feel really weird, inside my stomach and stuff, and I feel like I want to kill somebody. I know that's not normal, but what the hell?
I feel we need to break away from normal life.
How bright is this light?
British Dr. Thomas Kwan, 53, who donned a wig, fake facial hair, and a medical mask to secretly poison his mother's former partner, has pleaded guilty to attempted murder. Kwan reportedly sent his mother's then-partner, Patrick O'Hara, forged letters claiming that he was overdue for a checkup. Kwan then visited the man at his home, wearing a disguise so his mother and O'Hara wouldn't recognize him, to administer a poison made to look like a COVID-19 vaccine to O'Hara. Thomas Kwan pretended to be a community nurse delivering booster shots and injected Patrick O'Hara with a toxic substance, likely a pesticide. O'Hara, 72, was given a toxin which caused a rare and life-threatening flesh-eating disease. O'Hara survived the ordeal, but he developed necrotizing fasciitis, a potentially fatal flesh-eating bacterial infection. Now Kwan is set to be sentenced for his disturbing crimes. Thomas Kwan was a family doctor in Sunderland, England, but he passed himself off as a nurse when he put this devious plan into action. Kwan forged documentation, used a vehicle with fake license plates, and disguised himself with head-to-toe protective clothing, tinted glasses, and a surgical mask to visit the home in Newcastle that O'Hara shared with Kwan's mother, Jenny Lung, in January. Almost immediately, O'Hara became seriously unwell, and he was soon admitted to the hospital, where he presented the staff with the letters he had received from the disguised Kwan. Realizing the correspondence was bogus, hospital officials contacted the police. O'Hara needed numerous operations, including skin grafts to repair the extensive damage the poisoning caused to his body. During the ensuing investigation, the police identified Kwan as a suspect. They determined that the doctor had driven from his home in Ingleby, Barwick, to a hotel in Newcastle on January 22, 2024, the morning of the incident. They also found that he put fake plates on his vehicle in an attempt to hide his identity. He was arrested at his home, where police also found a poisoner's handbook and a guide on murder investigations on his computer. They also uncovered several files about lethal poisons and avoiding detection. Thomas Kwan previously admitted to a charge of administering a noxious substance, and now he has pleaded guilty to attempted murder too. Thomas Kwan's actions were utterly despicable, said Detective Chief Inspector Jason Henry. He used his experience as a doctor to deceive the victim into thinking the medical appointment he had arranged was genuine before administering the poison, which has caused him unimaginable pain and suffering. In court, prosecutors identified a possible motive for Kwan. He was reportedly concerned about his mother's will, in which she left her house to O'Hara rather than Kwan. Mr. Kwan used his encyclopedic knowledge of and research into poisons to carry out his plan, said prosecutor Peter Makepeace in court. The exact toxin Kwan used is still yet to be identified, and though he admitted guilt in the crime, he made no efforts to come clean about the specific poison he injected. While the attempt on his victim's life was thankfully unsuccessful, the effects were still catastrophic, said Christopher Atkinson, head of the Complex Casework Unit for Crown Prosecution Service Northeast. At a time when Kwan could have assisted medical staff by identifying this substance, he instead made no comment to the questions put to him in police interview, allowing the victim's health to further deteriorate. Makepeace summed up the case best, saying simply, "Sometimes the truth really is stranger than fiction." What are your thoughts on these cases? Do you think Sabrina murdered the trio because of some mental health problems, and her mother's death just fueled the fire? Or there's more to it than what we know? Thankfully, Brian and Tori were caught before they were able to carry out any more murders. I mean, if they did that to their own friend, can you imagine what they would have done to a stranger? Thomas had so many chances to stop his plan and amend things with his mother, and hopefully she would have included him in her will, or at least talk about it like adults since his job is to save lives. Like always, rest in peace to all the victims. Don't forget to let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. Thanks for watching. If you like my content, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to my channel.